your second video is going to be on Newton's first law of motion. Another name for this is Newton's law of inertia. So we first need to remember what the word force means, and we just talked about that in our last video. So let's recall that force is going to be the cause of motion. What causes motion objects to move, right? There's two types of forces, pushes and pulls, right? Remember that forces can be balanced or unbalanced. Balanced forces are all forces acting on an object that are equal, and there's no motion in these balanced forces. And unbalanced forces, where one or more forces acting on an object are stronger than the others. And in this one, there is motion. And there's gonna be a net force, right? So you can take a look at that little cartoon. The girl is asking the guy, is he resting? And he says, no, he's just exploring Newton's first law. So objects at rest tend to stay at rest unless there's an outside force acting on it, a push or a pull. Newton described this tendency as inertia. So inertia can be described as the tendency of an object to keep doing whatever it's doing. So let's take a look at mass and inertia. Mass is the amount of matter of an object. We know that. And the more mass an object has, the more inertia that object is going to have. So bigger objects are going to be harder to start and harder to stop. So take a look over to the left. Which vehicle has more inertia? Well, if you picked the larger vehicle, then you'd be right, because it has more mass, right? So what about objects that are already in motion? Well, Newton stated that objects in motion tend to stay in motion unless something makes it stop. So Newton's first law is also known as the law of inertia, like I said before. A moving object moves in a straight line with a constant speed unless a force acts on it. The tendency of an object at rest to remain at rest, and an object in motion to remain in motion, unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. Objects do not change their motion unless a force acts on them. So we're just summarizing here. Okay, this car is in motion. What is the force that causes it to stop? Well, it's going to be that push of the wall, right? That wall's pushing back on the car. Well, that person sitting in that car, and he's at rest, right? So why does he move after the car stops? Well, he's not wearing a seatbelt, obviously, right? So inertia. So since he's not wearing a seatbelt, so there's nothing stopping him when the car stops.